So thank you very much, Emmanuel, for that intro. And I also want to say good morning, good evening to everyone who is watching, wherever you are watching from. I'm excited to be here today, and we will be discussing the topic Built to Last, future-proofing your workforce in 2025 and beyond. So I will try to wrap up my presentation within 30 minutes so that we can then have enough time for Q&A. So I've been asked to speak on Build to Last, future-proofing your workforce in 2025. So what I decided to do was to look at, in order for you to build your organization to last, and also to future-proof the workforce that you have within your organization, in my thinking, is that there is need for us to have a future-ready workforce, because it's the people within the organization that makes that particular organization. Without the people, you don't have any organization. So can I get a thumbs up in the chat, just to be sure that you all can still hear and see me clearly? If you can hear and see me clearly, can I get a thumbs up in the chat box? Yes. Okay, great. So we're together. Good. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at future-ready workforce, and I'm going to be discussing strategies for planning, upskilling, and internal mobility. So Emmanuel has done a very good intro of myself. I don't think I need to repeat much about myself. I'm only going to share what is not in that intro, okay? For the last 3 decades, I've been in management, in leadership role. And of these 3 decades, 23 years is purely HR leadership. So my first role in HR was assistant HR manager. That was in 2003. And then I moved from that to become a director of HR in a space of 6 months. And since then, I've been functioning at that particular level till date. So I've worked with both national, global organizations. So what I wanted to talk about here, briefly about myself, is the badges that you are seeing on the screen. So in this year, 2025, I was additionally recognized as a thought leader. Okay, there's an organization called Thinkers 360. So I encourage you all to try and check out that organization, Thinkers 360. So it's a thought leadership platform. And by their own ranking, they've decided to recognize me based on what they've seen, my works and all that, as an ambassador for Thinkers 360 under the leadership category. So they did some sort of assessment. And of all the people who are listed on that platform, which include very notable people, I encourage you to check them out. So I've been rated top 25. So when you count 1 to 25, you will find me on that list as one of the thought leaders, top 25 thought leaders overall, that is globally. Africa, when you count the first 10, you will find me there. I'm not number 10, but I'm somewhere in the middle, I think number 5 or 6. So that's basically what I wanted to share. And that brings me to the topic that I want to talk about, which is something that has to do with leadership. So what sort of leadership are we showing within the organization? So I want to start by sharing just a small story with regard to the topic we're discussing today. Because we want to build an organization that's going to last. So when in 2011, I left hospitality to join the financial services. So this was my first financial services role. And that was what brought me to Lagos, right? So I took up the position of head of HR at a financial services company known as Axion Microfinance Bank in January 2011. When I joined that organization, one major challenge that I noticed was that in terms of the hiring, okay, the focus of the organization as at that time was based on when there is a need, then we hire. When there is a need, then we hire, okay? So which is what I call short-term hiring. The focus was on short-term hiring. But the challenge that we then faced in the organization before I joined was that as people were joining, people were leaving. Okay. Hiring every day there's a recruitment exercise going on. Okay. And they never stopped hiring. And people just keep coming in and going out, coming in and going out. Okay. But I then had to do something because we can't just be bringing in people and everybody is going out. And the attrition rate before I joined was as close as 50%. But where the organization wanted to go to demanded something different. So I'm going to be sharing some of those things that we did in that particular organization. So that's the focus of the presentation today. So organization focused on short-term hiring, but the future demanded that we think differently in that particular organization. And I believe that some of us today, your organization is demanding something different from what you're currently doing. So we're going to see how do we tackle that. But before we step into what we want to share today, I want us to start by assessing or gauging where we are in our organization. So I have a poll here for us, okay? What is your organization's biggest workforce challenge right now? Let's see what you are faced with, and then I will attempt to address what we need to do to solve the challenge. So let's start. So you need to go to Slido. So if you're on your phone or your computer, you need to switch, go to slido.com, enter the code 29954762. Slido.com. So can someone help me put that in the chat box, please? Slido.com, and then the code is 29954762. So please use the slido.com, and the code is this. So use the survey to provide answer to the challenge that your organization is currently facing. What is your organization's highest workforce challenge right now? Okay, only 2 people. We are 30. So I know that close to 100 people registered for this session, right? So, and since we are just 30 of us online, I would like everybody to participate in this survey. This is what is going to guide us in our conversation today. So let everyone participate. So I get to see where we are, and then we can find solution to the challenge. Only 2 people have logged into Slido. That's not good enough. That is not good enough. Can we do better? Or are we having challenge connecting? If we are having challenge, please type in the chat box. Coach Odelis, thank you. I can see your comment. Talent acquisition at the expense of talent retention. Yeah, that was what was happening in that organization. Oh, some people are driving. Okay. Okay, so if you're driving, yes, you might not be able to take. So is everyone driving? 29 of us are all driving. Okay, let's say 1 is driving. So to at least 20. 6, okay, the numbers are improving. 7, that's nice. So let's get at least half of the number. I believe that at least half of us should be able to participate. Half of us who are eligible to participate in the survey. What is your organization's biggest workforce challenge right now? And that's what we want to address. Okay, Odafe, I see you are typing. Can you use the survey tool, slido.com, use the survey tool. So it will make it easy for us to aggregate the responses when you use the survey tool. So it's slido.com, and the code is 29954762. Let's use the survey tool. It makes it easy for me to aggregate our responses. Okay, 10. We have gone to 10. So can we get to 15? Then we move. If we get to 15, we move. Some of us are multitasking. I see. One day I'll talk about multitasking, whether it is a productive way of working or not. Okay, let's get to 15 so that we can move. We're at 12, just three more people, and we'll kick off. 3 more people and we'll kick off. So who is going to bail us? Where are the 3 people to bail us now? Just 3 more and we're done. Okay, Dr. Arabi, thank you very much for joining. I can see skill. Can you help us use the survey tool so that maybe our numbers will go up? Okay, so let's move. In order to save time, let's move. So let me see what we've okay, so this is the second survey that we have, the second survey. If you had to future-proof your career today, what would you prioritize? So this is, we've talked about the organization, now we want to talk about ourselves. So if you had to future-proof your career today, what will you prioritize? Okay, 1 person. So can we get to 15 quickly? We move. Let me see what's happening in the chat. AI. Okay, somebody is saying AI. It's harder to answer. AI, if it's AI, then it falls under B, which is digital tech. So if we're saying it's harder to answer, then it means we don't know what we need to do to future-proof our own career. That's a big challenge. So it means we need to have a separate conversation around that. We need to have a conversation. If you don't know how to future-proof your own career today, or in order to future-proof your own career, what skill you should prioritize, then it means you should be having a one-on-one with me. Okay, 5 people. 5, let me see. Okay, more like there are multiple answers. Yes, but we just want one. Yes, Coach Odelisi says such people need coaching. So if you are thinking all of them you need all, you need to prioritize. You know, you might need all, but there should be one that is number 1, number 2, number 3. So you need to have a coaching call, coaching conversation in order to determine which one should you focus on first. When you've cleared that, then you move to the next one. Okay. Okay, clarity of purpose. Okay. So we're 13. Wow, that's good. This one went very fast. So let me see if we have a score. Oops, I wonder why the score is not showing. Okay. The score is supposed to show, but I don't know why it's not showing. Just a moment. Let me see something. Why is the score not showing? Just a moment. I want to see why is the score not showing. A strange result not showing. Not showing. Uh, Okay. So we'll come back to the results. Something is happening here, and I don't know why it's refusing to show, but we'll come back to the results. We'll come back to the results. Sometimes no technology will decide to behave the way it pleases. So this one is behaving differently. People cannot see your application. Can you all see my screen? Okay, so the survey result is refusing to show. I will try and publish it before we leave. So why is this topic relevant and why does it matter today? One major thing why it matters is that, we keep talking about the future of work, right? The future of work is no longer in the future. The future of work is now, is today. And that's why it matters. There are some compelling statistics here. The first one is from Conferry. Conferry, one of their research, discovered that 85 million jobs may go unfulfilled by 2030 due to skills shortage. And the World Economic Forum said that 50% of all employees will need reskilling by 2025. And we're in 2025. So as you can see, people are already scrambling for how to reskill to become best with how to use AI tools, right? Then LinkedIn, in their own survey, found out that internal hires perform better and stay longer than external hires. So internal hires are people that you move or recruit within. Let's say there's an opportunity or an opening within the organization, and you hire people from within the system. So those ones hired from within the system are likely to stay longer with the organization, are also likely to perform better, okay, compared to people that you bring from outside. So my key message to us today is that the companies that will thrive are those that plan, those that develop, and those that mobilize their people strategically. So you must plan strategically, you must develop strategically, and you must mobilize strategically all the people that you have within your organization. That is what is going to make the difference. Now, there are three pillars to prepare a future-ready workforce. And those are the things that I've shown on this Venn diagram. So the three pillars, the first one is strategic workforce planning, okay? Strategic workforce planning. And by strategic workforce planning, it means you need to have a plan for everyone within the organization. What sort of people do you have? What sort of people do you need to prosecute whatever objective that your organization has set for itself? And then the second pillar is skill gap analysis. The people that you have within the organization, what sort of skills do they have? Have you done an assessment of the people that you have? How many people do you have? What do you want them to do? Do they have the right skills? Where does your organization want to go? Do they have the skills that will help take your organization to where you want them to go? And then the other thing you also need to work on is internal mobility. So how often do you move people around within the organization? Do you fill open roles with people? Do you have a plan to grow people? When someone joins as a cleaner in your organization, is there an opportunity for them to be able to rise to become the CEO of that particular organization? So that's what internal mobility is all about. So I'm going to go through these three pillars, okay? There are three different concepts. We'll go through them and then show us exactly what we need to do in order to ensure that we have answers to the questions about whether we're planning our workforce strategically or not. So let's start with strategic workforce planning. So what is strategic workforce planning? By definition, strategic workforce planning is aligning your organization's workforce with its long-term goals, right? So the organization has a long-term goal, what they want to be, their aspiration. When you look at the vision of the organization, you will see the aspiration of that particular organization. This is who we want to be. Now, the people that you have within the organization, are they also aspiring to help your organization get to that particular goal that you've set for yourself? Or let's say you even want to expand, okay? Let's say your goal is to expand to a new territory. The people that you have within the system, will they be able to help you expand? Or let's say you want to launch a new product or launch a new service. The people that you have within the organization, are they able to help you get there, okay? If they are not, then there's a challenge, okay? So that's basically what strategic workforce planning means, aligning your organization workforce with its long-term goals. So everybody who is in that organization understands that this is where we are going, and they're ready to help the organization get there. So strategic workforce planning is not just about hiring. It's about having the right people with the right skills in the right roles at the right time. So you can see the word right used all through, okay? It's about having the right people. Do you have the right people? With the right skills. The people that you have, do they have the right skills that will help your organization get to that place? Are they occupying the right roles? Which means you need to begin to evaluate the roles that people occupy in your organization. If they are not in the right roles, then you need to move them around. Maybe you've assigned in areas where they do not have the strength to. When you see that someone is not performing well, it's not just to say, okay, this person is not performing, so let's kick them out. No, maybe they're given the wrong job. There could be something else that they will be able to do within the organization. So have you checked to see where their strength lies and make sure you assign them at the right place, right? And do you put them at that right role at the right time? Or do you wait until everything is bad, things have damaged, then before you now begin to position people? Okay, so this is a quote for us. Failing to plan is planning to fail, especially in HR. Failing to plan is planning to fail, especially in HR. So in HR, you must always plan. If you don't plan, then just know that you are ready to fail. Okay. So why is strategic workforce plan critical, business critical? Why is it critical to the business? Number one, is business strategic workforce plan is business critical because number one, it ensures business continuity and agility. When you plan properly, you're able to make sure that there is no failure point within your business. At every point in time, you have people who are going to take up. Let's say, for instance, somebody goes on leave. Because the person goes on leave, then all activity will stop. There's a problem in that organization. People should not go on leave and then operation stops. Or some people now refuse to go on leave because when they go on leave, things are going to grind to a halt. And so you person is suffering, falling ill, there's no adequate rest for them, and so their well-being is suffering. Opportunity plan in place to ensure that when someone needs to take a rest, there are other people who can step in to get the job done. So that's why you need a strategic workforce plan. Okay. Strategic workforce plan is also business critical because it aligns talent with evolving goals. So an organization starts at the beginning of the year. Their goals, depending on what is happening in the economy, is likely going to change. Remember when we had of how to get their work done, okay? And so you also need to retrain the people, realign them. We're no longer a brick and mortar, we're now a digital operation. So people need to acquire the skill to be able to run digitally, right? It also prevents reactive HR decisions and talent gaps, okay? It's only when somebody has resigned, we'll not start recruiting because somebody has just resigned now, we'll start recruiting. No, if you plan your workforce properly, you would have some pool of people that you can always draw from. You also have backup within the system, okay? So like have a succession plan where if someone leaves, there are 2 or 3 people who can immediately step in without anyone knowing that somebody has just left. So there won't be any gap, right? That is what strategic workforce plan does for us. And that is what, for all the leaders on this call today and all the HR people on this call, we need to make sure that we invest in a strategic workforce plan. Now, take the case of Netflix. You know, Netflix, before now, our videos used to be on DVD, right? We used to watch DVD and all that. But today, Netflix has moved from selling DVDs to streaming. And when they had to do that shift, as soon as they studied the environment and see that people are moving digital now, they started streaming, right? They did not have to hire new people immediately. So what they did was to kind of retrain their people, move them from DVD distribution to learn how to now focus on how to stream, okay? And so that was so they realigned the people within the organization. That's what And so there are several organizations like that. Like the first organization where I mentioned, where I worked when I came to Lagos, we also did the same thing. When we had a plan to expand to other cities, instead of hiring people afresh, we had to use people internally to go set up those places, to manage those outlets or those branches before now hiring the foot soldiers. Instead of hiring people afresh to now go and head the branches. So, and you can only do that when you've been able to, when you have a plan, you can forecast to see, okay, in the next 5 years, we're likely going to expand to XYZ location. And so we begin to invest in our people today to prepare them so that by the time we get to year 5, when we are ready to move out, we already have people that we can send out. Okay, they become our ambassadors. Otherwise, what will happen is that you have 2, 3, 4, 5 different organizations. When you bring people from outside to head your new outreach centers, you have different organizations because you bring different culture. They don't understand how the story, how we started, what we do, how we do things. So they'll bring in their own knowledge or bring in their own kind of culture to run that particular organization. Okay, so these are practical steps. You then ask, so how do I go about doing this workforce plan? What do I do? This is a simple steps. These are simple steps that you can follow to get it done. So the step 1 is that you need to assess your current state. And by your current state, I mean you need to look at what is your workforce size, right? The workforce that you have today, what is the size in terms of number? Skills, what sort of skills do they have? Then the demographics. So maybe you want to expand to a place where the local dialect is highly, maybe it's a remote place, and you can only converse with people in their local dialect. So you need to check within your demographics of the workforce they have. Do you have people who are likely going to be able to speak that language? If they can't speak the language, it means you need to either begin to teach them the language. One thing that the US Foreign Service does is that when they want to send people to a particular area, they begin to put them through a class, okay, and ensure that they learn the language of those people. So most of those US Foreign Service people that come to Nigeria, notice that they can speak Igbo, they can speak Hausa, they can speak Yoruba. So they teach them the major languages. So when they go there, they can converse, which they can understand exactly what people are saying because they've been taught that language, they are prepared, and when they go there, they can speak that particular language. And after you've assessed your current state, you now know what you have in-house. The next is to define the future business. Where does the business want to be tomorrow? Okay. What are the business goals? What roles will be required? So if I take example of the company that I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation. When we wanted to, initially it was just a state microfinance bank, right? And then it acquired a national license. And so that gave it the right to be able to expand and set up across the 36 states of the country. So we started out by expanding to Port Harcourt, okay? And in order to go to Port Harcourt, it means that, excuse me. So before we, excuse me. So we sat down and agreed all the areas that we are going to expand to. So we expand to some southwest, we expand to south, to southeast. Those were the plans. So in the course of this discussion, areas where we need to expand to, the question about roles, the roles that we need, the capabilities that we needed. So, when you're going to the southeast, because you know that the language predominantly spoken in that place is the Igbo language, it means that we need to check within our system. Do we have people who can speak the language there, right? And then there are some southwest areas that we're expanding to. We also needed to check that do we have people who can, because we operate mainly in the market area. So if you operate in the market area, you need to make sure that the people who are going there can also speak the language. So we looked at the roles that are required and then the capabilities that are needed for this particular expansion plan. And we then moved to gap analysis. So we now compared where we want to go to and what we have in-house. And that gave us an idea of the gaps that are present within this analysis that we've just done. So that is the gap analysis. So you decide, assess what you currently have, decide where you want to go to, bring them together, you compare the current versus the future. That's gap analysis. Then from the gap analysis, we then moved to developing strategies to close this gap. And there are several ways by which you can close the gap. So one is to build. And by building basically means when we've not identified gap, it means we need to train our people in-house. So we look at people in-house who have potential to be able to fill those roles, and then we begin to train them. So that's basically building. So you'll be building the capacity, build the people to get them ready to go there. So you can only build if you have enough time. So if you have not forecasted what you're going to do in the next 5 years, it will be difficult for you to build. Because if maybe you want to move next week, you can't begin now and start training people to deploy them next week. But if you are going to expand in the next 5 years, you can begin now and begin to train people, hoping that they will not leave the organization. And because they have an idea of where they are going, they will be going to a higher role, they'll be occupying a higher role. So they're likely going to stay with you. So you build them, prepare them for that new role. So they know, okay, I'm going to be MD or deputy MD in the new location. I'm going to be GM in the new location, even though now I'm just an officer or a manager. So the company is developing me to become that. You understand? So that's build. The other way to close the gap is to buy. So which means you go headhunt people and pay heavily to bring them on board, right? The third way to close the gap could be to borrow. And by borrowing, maybe you have a consulting company or associate company that you work with, and they will borrow you some people to help you set up the place while you are now either building or trying to buy your own people or get people that you're going to eventually take up the place. Then the fourth role, which for me is one of the key and good things we all do, is to redeploy. So there are people within the organization who are ready right now. They can be redeployed, right? So internal hires, filling those openings. So that's another strategy. So you either build, buy, borrow, or redeploy the talents that you have to close the gap. And then the final step in workforce planning, strategic workforce planning, is monitoring, continuous evaluation, okay? So you need to continually evaluate what you're doing to see you still working towards achieving goals. If you are not, then you need to begin to tweak them. So you need to monitor what you're doing. So you should have some set of KPIs, what you want to achieve, what you want to see, and then as you go ahead deploying these strategies, you will see whether it is working. If it's not working, then you need to change. Don't just continue and say, okay, this thing is not working, but we just continue. We have to stay there and die. No, you need to change because you want to achieve results. So that's basically what it is about the strategic workforce planning. So let me see the chart. I can see something going on in the chart. Failing to, okay, thank you all those connecting from outside Lagos. Failing to plan is failing to fail. Okay. Okay, fine. So let's go ahead. Now let's look at skills gap, which is the second pillar, right? Skill gap analysis. So how do you conduct skill gap analysis? First of all, what is even this skill gap analysis? So by definition, skill gap analysis is the difference between the skills that your employees have and the skills they need to meet future demands. So I gave us the example of UN service, right? When they're deploying somebody to a new country, the person has to learn the language. So that's the skill that is needed, okay? So this person, they will look within their, do we have someone who can actually understand if language is one of the key things or any other thing that you need to look through. So as an organization, you also need to look through. I also gave you the example when we wanted to move to the Southeast, language was one of the things that we also considered aside from every other criteria that we looked at, right? So the difference between the skills your employees have and the skills they need to meet future needs. So let's say the person is a supervisor, they need to become a manager in the new location. Do they have the capacity to become a manager? If not, then they need to be trained. Maybe they're an individual contributor and you want to give them a supervisory role. Do they know how to manage people, lead people? Maybe they can lead themselves, or they've never led a team before. And so it means you need to teach them how to be able to lead and manage the performance of a team, because they will not be the one doing the work. They now need to get the work done through other people, right? So what are the common causes of skill gaps? One is rapid tech adoption. So you can see today, with AI being infused in everything, we're beginning to see that people who don't possess the skill to manipulate AI are likely going to lose their jobs, okay, to those who have the skills. So that has created a skill gap. It means that For you to remain and retain your job, you're likely going to make sure you acquire, in fact, it becomes a must for you to acquire AI prompting skill. The market shift. So if there are changes in the market, one big player or one small player decides to appear, when the likes of the OPay and the Money Point just came on board, or the likes of Kuda, when it came on board, all these traditional banks began to, feel the pinch. The business were now moving from the traditional banks to all these little small players. So today, people are more comfortable using OPay, what's the other one, Money Point, because when you do a transfer, instantly you see and people are wondering, so how come these small players can do these things and these big ones can't? So when you want to transfer, say, no, don't send it to my normal bank, send it to OPay, send it because I will get a lot and I will get the credit instantly. Okay? So market shift. So it means for you to sustain yourself and remain in business, you want to understand what are these small players doing that is making them win all the business and where are losing it. Okay. Then internal promotions without development can also create a skill gap. So when I talk about internal promotion without development, so when somebody, you notice what happens in most organizations is that someone who is an individual contributor performs very well, technically sound, they can get the work done, right? Organizations tend to promote those ones without looking at the fact or without considering whether they are able to manage people, and you just promote them. You are very good at your job in sales, now become a sales manager, become a sales supervisor, and then the person moves up to the supervisory role, and then they flop. They're not performing again, and the manager is regretting. So why did I even promote you? I thought you were good, and I moved you. The problem is that you promoted them to a level of incompetence because you did not equip them with the tools that will enable them succeed. At the level where they are good. They're succeeding because they're doing the job themselves. But now you move them to another level, and they don't have the skill to operate at that particular level. So they automatically fail. It's not that they are not a good employee, but they don't know how to manage at that level. So you need to, before you move people to a higher level role, check to see, do they have the skill to operate at that higher level role? If they don't have it, equip them with the skill, and then they will now perform. So those are the causes of skill gaps. So what do we then do? Or how do you conduct a skill gap analysis? Number one, you need to identify critical roles and skills. So it means that in your organization, for where you want to go to, you need to identify what are the roles that are needed for us to succeed. Okay? When you identify those roles, that's the first step. Then the second step is to use data tools. What data tools do you need? To performance reviews, surveys that you've carried out, your learning management system, tracking to see what sort of trainings the people within the system have taken. Then you move to step 3, which is mapping the current skills. So you map all the current skills, the skills that is needed to the people, and then you then move to what are the gaps, right? So you forecast future skills based on industry trends and strategies. What are the skills that are needed for where we want to go to? And then you document and prioritize the gaps. So one of the responses that the person said, I don't even know which one to choose, right? So it means that when you've documented all the skills, you need to prioritize which one do we go for first, because you cannot address everything at once. So you need to pick them one after the other, okay? So we're coming to a close, bridging the gap, what to do. So what do you do to bridge the gap? So you need to target your upskilling and reskilling program. So you don't deploy a one-size-fits-all program. Depending on the skill that each person within the system has, you develop a program that is going to address their needs and prepare them for the role that you want them to occupy. Then you need to build what I call learning journeys. Have some micro learnings, not a full day training. Maybe you have some recorded 3-minute, 5-minute kind of training that people can take at their spare time in order to equip themselves. Then sometimes you can also have boot camps, you have mentorship program, like what HR Power Cycle, I think, does. So programs like that. And then personalized training by role, by skill, or by future path. So depending on the role the person is planning to occupy, you get them that particular training. Depending on the skill that is needed, you get them a training for that particular skill. Depending on the future paths, how they want to grow within the organization, you prepare them, put some trainings in place that will make them to be ready in the next 1 year, and the next 2 years, or the next 3 years, right? There is also need for you to set KPIs for measuring the skills development success. So you want to be sure that this plan that we're putting in place to develop people is actually working. So there must be something that you are tracking, okay? Now, the final parts of the tripod, right, is internal mobility. So what is internal mobility? Internal mobility simply means, by definition, movement of employees across roles within the organization. So you move somebody from HR to finance, move somebody from finance to HR, move somebody from HR to sales, move somebody from sales to HR, operations. You know, when you keep moving people around like that, that's what we sometime, and they now want to be part of the business, sales. They want to move to sales. So an opening comes up in sales, you push them to sales. That's basically what we mean by internal mobility. And as you can see by the headline, it says is the hidden gold mine. Okay, when you are able to equip your people so that they are ready to be moved within the organization, there are lots of advantages, benefits that organizations will get. One, the people will stay longer. Two, it will not cost you as much as bringing people from the outside, right? Buying talent from outside or borrowing talent might be more expensive than moving the ones internally. So you can move people internally, you will definitely adjust their pay, but it will not be as high as bringing somebody afresh from the outside. So the benefits: reducing hiring costs, okay, boost retention. People want to stay longer because they know there are some people you see they stay in the organization for 24 years, 25 years, 30 years. When you look through, they've been there, they started maybe as an entry-level person, and then they've risen, some assuming reason to become the MD of the organization. Okay, then it shortens time to productivity. So because they've been in the system, it's easy for them to acclimatize and begin to become productive. There's a stat here by LinkedIn that says employees who make internal moves are 3.5 times more likely to be engaged, okay, compared to those that you just bring from outside. Now, how to build a culture of internal mobility? Number one, you need to create visibility of internal opportunities. So when I got to Eco Hotel, the current organization where I serve now, so I noticed that when we want to recruit, maybe when there are openings internally, when there are openings, we prefer to advertise outside and bring people from outside. So, but one thing I then decided to introduce was to say, before we bring people from outside, let's check within the system. Are there people within the system who can occupy this role? So we need to create that visibility. And so when there's an opening, instead of people hearing it, hush, 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 we now publish it on the notice board. So there are people internally who think that they qualify for those roles, they can apply. And so create that visibility of internal opportunities. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is to encourage conversations, career conversations between managers and staff. And so when that started happening, I had a chat with the line managers, and they're now beginning to discuss with their people. So they now come to me and say, okay, I think this person wants to move. This person, if there's an opportunity, they would like to move, right? So encourage that conversation between manager and staff so they get to know what is it that their people would like to do, what can they do, what more can they do within the organization, so that when the opportunity comes up, then they can either put them forward or they're allowed to apply for those particular roles. Then there's need for you to train managers to support internal moves. So sometimes, managers want to hold their people and say, no, this is my best staff. I want to keep them. If I let them go, my operation will collapse. So it means that manager does not understand that there is need to develop additional capacity within the organization. So train managers so they can support the move. And the way they can support the move is to make sure that everybody within their team can take over any other person's role. And so they should be happy that somebody started at a lower level with me and they've risen to become higher. The credit goes to them. It means that they are doing a good job, right? Then when there are internal moves like that, people who move from a lower level position to a higher level, celebrate that success. When you celebrate that internal success story, what it does for the other employees in the organization, that it means that be a time, an opportunity will come, and I too will grow within the organization. Okay, so that's how you build this culture of internal mobility. Now, what are the enablers? For you to be able to move people internally, there are lots of things you need to do. Start first with learn and develop program. So what sort of learn and develop program do you have in place? Those learn and develop programs must be aligned with the kind of growth, the different paths, career paths within that particular organization. So don't just give people training for the sake of giving training. No, give people training that will help them to perform in their job role, that will prepare them for a future higher level role. Okay. So then it will make it easy to move people around. Then also you need to have a succession plan in place. So which means if Mr. Emmanuel is on this position today, I should have 2 people at least that can take over from Mr. Emmanuel. And so which means these 2 people will be groomed, will be trained, you know, to from time to time take up some of the responsibility that Mr. Emmanuel is carrying out. And when they don't perform well, you give them training and you try them again. So you are preparing so that the day Mr. Emmanuel decides to wake up and say, I'm not working again, then these 2 people, you can pick one of them, step in immediately, right? So that's what we need to across all key positions within the organization. So with that, and something that Mr. Emmanuel might not even say he's going, maybe he's not feeling well and not able to show up, somebody can step in, okay? Mentorship and cross-functional projects. So encourage people within the organization, those more experienced ones, to mentor the new ones, and encourage your team members to, you know, do some sort of tour around the organization. Maybe you, from time to time, you move people around so they go do something new within the organization. Then I talked about this cultural mindset shift from talent hoarding to talent sharing. So don't say this person is in my department, is my best staff, you must keep him, cannot go anywhere. No, when there's an opportunity for them to grow. Because if you decide to hoard the person, what will happen at the end of the day? The person will find a job outside the organization and go. And so you automatically lose that particular. So why not allow them to move within the organization when there's an opportunity within? Okay, section 4 says bringing it all together. So case study, I already shared this case study, right? So I said at Action, we implemented workforce planning and internal mobility. And some of the performance gains that we saw, one, attrition dropped by 50%, from 50% per annum to less than 5% by the end of 2012. So I joined in 2011, January, and we started working towards these, why is there people come and go, okay? And one of the things that I actually did was, instead of always having this recruitment stuff, so we decided to arrange with a school and conducted a mass test where people did a lot of assessment, and everybody who went through that assessment, those that passed, we now brought them together. We didn't have need to hire them, but we now brought them together and now gave them a lecture about the job role and what have you. So about 50% of them now agreed that they wanted to do the job. So we interviewed them and we had a bank. So whenever there is an opening, we just call from them. Are you still available? Yes. Okay, just come. So we cut down the time to replace any exit. And so that helped. And again, because we had that session of educating them about what the job is all about, when they come on board, they don't disappear like they used to do before. And that was what helped us to move from a 50% turnover to a 5% turnover by the end of the second year. And in the course of that, we also won an award in 2012, okay? So the employee engagement level increased in that particular organization, and it led us to winning the Great Place to Work Human Capital Award in 2012. We also noticed that growth opportunities as individual contributors moved to supervisory roles, while supervisors moved to new locations to set up branches. And then we also noticed growth in our revenue with insignificant increase in our payroll cost. If we were bringing everybody from outside, our payroll will have ballooned, right? So this is basically describing who we were before and who we became after deploying a strategic workforce plan, internal mobility strategies. Now, what is the roadmap for future readiness? So the roadmap, one, is to plan, okay? Anticipate your workforce needs through data and insight. So you must plan. And the only way you can plan is when you've assessed what you have. So you get that workforce need, and then we move to step 2, which is to prepare. So preparing, the roadmap to prepare is basically to close the gap through continuous learning, to provide learning to the people who are within the organization, and that will help us to close the gap. And then promote, there's need for you to promote internal talent, okay? Internal movement to unlock hidden talent. If you don't challenge people within, you will not know that they have the potential to do something great. So my closing message to us today is that you need to lead change from where you are. Don't wait and say, okay, 2030 is still coming, still far. Start from now to plan for 2030. Don't wait. When I was younger, we used to say Vision 2020, I think. Is it 2020 or Vision 2000? It used to be Vision 2000 first. And then before 2000 has arrived, 2020, before 2020 is there. Now they're saying 2030. Before we hit 2030, and we're not ready. So lead the change that you want to see from where you are right now. Don't wait for the future. Build it with the people you already have. So that future that you desire, begin to build it today with the people that you have. And you can start with one initiative. So like the person who said, I don't know where to start because I start with one, okay? Skill mapping, learning program, or mobility audit. Just choose one. When you finish one, you move to the next, okay? So that's basically all that I have for us. Let me share this video before we move to a question to tell you a little bit about HR with EM. Okay, so I have an exclusive offer for everyone who's on this call. There are 32 of us, right? Or 30 of us on this call. So I'm offering everyone on this call one-to-one career clarity coaching with me. So you can have a one-on-one with me. This career clarity coaching usually will cost about 180,000 to get to speak to me for 30 minutes. Okay? But for everyone who is on this call, you get to speak to me for 1 hour. So not 30 minutes, so I'll double the time. And you will pay only 75% of that cost. Okay? So, and it's exclusive for everybody who is on this call. So you will pay 45,000 naira to speak with me for 1 hour in order to gain that career clarity for your role. What are you going to get? You get a one-on-one personalized coaching call with me, clarity on your career path and goals, strategic guidance for your next move, and then we'll come up with sort of an action plan and a follow-up resources that you can use. So like I said, the offer is valid for the next 24 hours. It starts now. By 10 a.m. tomorrow, the offer will expire. And if you click on the link, it will give you a promo price, which is 90, right? So you can scan the QR code or you type in this particular link. I'm going to drop the links in the chat box later on. So in case you want to access the opportunity of having a one-on-one career clarity call with me. Let's see what else I have. Okay. So I have a YouTube channel. Feel free to scan the QR code also. You can watch some of my videos on HR and leadership. And these are my social media handles. So this session is being recorded. So I believe it will be uploaded on one of the social media platforms, maybe YouTube platform of HR Power Cycle or my own YouTube channel. So you'll be able to, if you want to get in touch, feel free. Thank you. So questions. What's the best effective way to manage performance? Okay, so these are the questions. Questions are already coming in. Good. Okay, so if you have any question, please use the Slido. You can post your questions on Slido, or you can drop them in the chat box, but I think there are some in the chat box. But you can use the Slido to make it easy to track so everybody can see the question. Post them on slido.com, 2995-4762. Let me see what other chats do we have. Okay, so Coach Femi Odelusi, I see your comment, says internal mobility, secondment, job shadowing, acting up, yes. Elizabeth, so there's a question from Elizabeth, right? It says, how do you manage internal mobility that the employee's interest is only to easier roles? Employees in marketing always interested in work. Employees in marketing always interested in working in HR or admin. I'm not very sure I understand that question. So maybe, can you clarify, please? Yeah, kindly share your questions. Yeah, okay. How does this, so I don't know, are you saying that how do you manage internal mobility that the employee's interest is only to easier roles? Which means the employees want easier roles. I'm assuming that's what you are saying. Okay, so let's use the Slido tool to post the questions. So the questions will show up on the screen and everybody will see them. So if an employee is interested in easier roles, so I think it's a function of how the organization is structured. It is the role that is advertised that people should apply to. So I don't understand easier roles. Is it that you're advertising easier roles and people can only occupy a role that is open? If a role is not open, it's not open. So there is no way to occupy them. Okay. So maybe you want to rephrase your question so I can get it properly. How does this work for a startup that is bootstrapping, seeking to maintain a lean structure? How feasible is it? So what exactly are you asking? How feasible is it? Can you please be a little bit more specific? No audio. Oh, okay, the audio is there. Okay. I guess that was when we were playing the video. It's showing USD. Switch it to Naira. Except you are outside the country, but you can select the currency. On the QR code, you can select the currency. You can select the currency. So let me see. Please share. Okay. So Oye Ade Sami, it's supposed to show Naira. Check the currency. Where you see the USD, click on it, you see NGN. Select NGN, you see Nigerian currency. Okay. So let's use the tool, the Slido tool, to make it easy for me to, instead of looking at the chart and then coming back to Slido. Okay. So let's look at Slido now. The first question there is, what's the best effective way to manage performance? So the best effective way to manage performance, one, you can only measure what you manage, right? So you need to set KPIs. If you don't set KPIs, there's nothing to manage. You must first of all set it. Easier to now check whether did they do it or they didn't do it. Let's say, for instance, you need to sell 20 bottles of this water, right? So if we say sell 20 bottles, and that is the goal, to sell 20 bottles of this water. If at the end of the week, or maybe it's weekly, 20 bottles, at the end of the week, we'll review to see how many bottles did you sell. If you sold 5, it means you've not achieved. If you sold 10, you've achieved. If you sold 12, you've exceeded. Excuse me. Okay, so that's how to manage performance. That's the best and effective way to manage performance. You must have a parameter, what you want to measure. So your goal, usually we say your goal should be SMART. It must be specific. You should be able to measure it. It must be achievable. It must be realistic. It must be time bound. So sell 20 bottles of this water every week. Okay. So we said water, that's what you want to sell. How many do you need to sell? 20. How often? Every week. So that's how to do it. In your opinion, do you think there will be, let me take away this. Something's wrong with this. Okay, so in your opinion, do you think there will be less people employed because of the adoption of AI? No, there won't be less people employed. There will be more people employed. What will happen is that those who have the AI skill will always get the job. Those who don't have the AI skill are likely going to lose theirs. How does this work for a startup that is bootstrapping? How feasible is it, or is it a change of perspective? What exactly are you asking? So I need to know what it is. Is it internal mobility? Is it strategic workforce planning? A startup must always have, if you don't have a workforce plan for the startup has growth plans, right? So because it has growth plans, they know where they need to be in the next 5 years, so they can determine, today we are starting with just 2 people. And in the next 5 years, this is where we want to be. And when we are in those particular places, these are the capacities and capabilities that we need. And so the kind of resources we need to be at that particular place or to achieve that particular goal. And so they need to have a workforce plan in place in order to address that particular issue. And then know, do we need to now invest in a school that is going to be building people so that when we get there, those people will be ready to plug in? Or do we wait until when we get there, then we just hire people or poach people from other organizations? So all that we've discussed today is applicable. It doesn't matter the type of category of organization that you are. Okay? Oops. Okay, let's see. Something's happening to my tech today. Okay, internal mobility. So, okay, you are referring to internal. So for internal mobility in a startup, so you notice that in a startup, you get to see people doing different roles. They move around. So one person is the CEO, is the salesperson, is the marketing person, is the finance person. So that's the, so internal mobility is feasible in a startup. It's feasible in a startup. Okay. Let me see. Okay, so I've answered this question. Let me share from my Slido direct because I don't know what's happening to the app. Where is the Slido? This one. Okay. So can you all still see my screen? Please let me know by chat if you can see my screen. Okay, yes, good. So I've answered this question. In your opinion, do you think less people have answered this question? How does this work for a startup? I've answered it. Startups are referring to internal mobility. Okay, so I think I've answered it. How do you manage a staff member that has attained comfort in their role and they refuse to grow? So people cannot refuse to grow. So I don't understand why you say people refuse to grow. The organization determines whether people grow or not. So people working together do not refuse to grow. So it means something is wrong with that organization if you are saying that your people are refusing to grow. As an organization, you are supposed to set KPIs for people. And when you set it for them, they're expected to either achieve it or not achieve it. When they achieve it, they are rewarded. When they do not achieve it, they are also rewarded. So there is something wrong with the performance management, performance and consequence management in that organization. That's basically what it means. So I don't see anyone getting into a role and say it's their comfort role although they don't want to grow again. Okay, so take a look at your performance management process. Something might be wrong with it. Okay, so I think that's all the questions that we have. That's all the questions. So I'll stop sharing this and look at the chat if there's anything more at the chat. Okay, so the link for the one-to-one clarity coaching is there. So that's it. Over to you, Emmanuel. So I think I'm through with my session.
Wow, what an explosive session. What a mind-blowing session. Please, guys, can we just go to the comments?